Hello, my beautiful friends. Well, today's the day. A lot of you know me from the retreat center in Peru. Some of you may be new to me or maybe exploring doing plant medicine and ayahuasca, maybe in particular. So I'm going to focus on ayahuasca and my experience the second time I went to Peru to do it, which I did in a 3-week retreat. I'll talk more about my experience then as a volunteer and as a facilitator, paid facilitator at that facility, maybe on another video. I want to focus mainly on, I guess, process and outcome. So setting an intention, a brief talk about the description of, an experience of ceremony and setting, and then mostly the outcome for me almost a year on. What has happened? Have I achieved my aims, my intentions, and where has it helped, or where is it still working, as in integration, which can be lifelong actually. So I'm gonna share a little bit more vulnerably about my own reasons for going down to Peru in 2022. I did a 3-week plant retreat, mainly ayahuasca, but also did wachuma at that center, but also outside of the center. So I've had a couple of different shamans with wachuma and the same shaman with ayahuasca, which was a Shipibo shaman and a very honorable, trustworthy, experienced shaman called Armando and his beautiful wife. And they worked together on the 9 ceremonies that I did in Peru in the Sacred Valley. So I'm going to share with you basically my intentions, and intentions are important to set prior to starting in your ceremonies. And I guess they're more heart-centered and focused on a way of being rather than goal-orientated, and which creates a much narrower focus. It's allowing your entire being to create that new experience, reality, way of living and being in the world. So I'll just read you, I might have to look down what I had written, and these, I guess, went through, and I maintain the same ones mainly really through the 3 weeks of the ceremonies. But maybe at times I focused on one intention more than another in a certain ceremony. But yes, they were all my intentions for all 9 ceremonies. And let me read them to you, okay? So the first one was to release recent grief, loss, honor the passing of loved ones, and also do so by living my best life, which buys into my other intentions, to accept and love myself fully, because you can't really live your best life if you're not loving and accepting yourself, and to live joyfully, positively, and be a light to the world, which is, I guess, part of my purpose and what I'm really trying to do now. I'm hoping this will be in some way a little bit helpful to you guys. And also then to find a new role as a healer and a way of being of service, utilizing my unique skills and abilities, which is also unfolding. I mean, my background, if you've read anything or know anything about me, was nursing. I was a registered nurse for a long time, and then I moved into hypnotherapy and lots of alternative modalities. And now I'm working in the space or developing a new practice as a soul-counsellor, incorporating all my abilities. So it's a bit like watch this space in regards to that, because that's new. So I'll speak about the process. So the process is you set an intention, and then you focus on that intention prior to your ceremony and want to, I guess, see what you need to do in order to achieve that intention and that outcome. And then Mother Ayahuasca will guide you in your ceremony to that setting intention, but also maybe refocus you on what she feels is a priority for you, or maybe needs to be a priority in order to get to that intention. So it requires you to surrender also. So a big part of the process is being able to focus. So if you've got a practice of meditation, if you've done any kind of mindfulness, if you've done yoga, if you've, just done any kind of spiritual minded connecting to your essence, your what I call your soul energy or your higher self, then you will be finding that those tools in your toolkit will help you and help keep you focused and centered in the ceremony when it can be quite challenging. One of the biggest things to learn to do is to surrender, which is easier said than done. And also to be able to refocus yourself. Maybe if you have had experience in breath work, breathing, that can also help you to relax and let go and trust the process, and focus on your intention. So any kind of spiritual practice and any kind of past experience in that area will definitely be very, very beneficial. If you're completely new, if you're going in for an experience, if you're just curious but have no real experience of being in that space of spiritually preparing yourself and being open, then it can be quite challenging. And I've seen that as a facilitator, that you find that you're floundering. So I would say do your research, do your preparation, and really mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, energetically prepare yourself intensely for your plant medicine retreat, especially ayahuasca, which can be quite a journey. So I'm just sharing with you that I went down to Peru at a time in my life where I had lost my mum, passed away in 2020. And even though she had been ill for a long time, it was a shock. In the end, she went quite quickly. And I live in Australia, she lived in Ireland, and I wasn't able to get back due to COVID. And then about 8 or 9 months later, my beautiful baby brother, who I adore, absolutely adore, and who I was the closest to, he and I had been speaking to the night before, had a car crash, a completely freak accident, and died a few hours after the accident. And I was again in Australia and I couldn't leave. And so I had a lot of processing of grief. So that was one of my main reasons for going down to Peru, because even though after the borders lifted in Australia, I went back and flew back to Ireland to be with family, which was really good. But at the same time, some members were not processing their own grief in a great way. And I felt as an empath, I didn't really have the space to grieve. So I took that time out and went to Peru for 3 weeks and did 9 ceremonies and a lot of crying in my ayahuasca ceremonies to process that grief. And I definitely believe that it helped a lot. I know that in my first ceremony, I had a vision of my brother's football jersey, and he's the number 9 in the football jersey, and just sensing that he was with me, which was very special, very emotional. And I wear that football jersey myself a lot now still to connect with him. So, while you're never over grief, it's an ongoing thing. His anniversary is coming up soon, which I know will be emotional. I'm making his life count for me, in that it's a motivation for me to live my best life, because you really truly never know when your time is up. And life is short. Life is precious. If you're going to live it, make it count. And I know that his passing was so shocking to myself, but to everyone that he knew. And after you lose someone, you hear all the stories about the things that he did. He was very humble. He did an awful lot for people, and he was so honored, not just in Ireland but internationally. And I guess it just took a lot for me to get through that. So that was a major reason for me to go to Peru. And I'm glad of it. I'm thankful for it. I'm very grateful. And it was definitely worth it in my way for me. The next thing that I focused on was my self-love and acceptance, because I really did not have that, even though I was very great at giving that to other people, and I I wasn't really living it myself. I wasn't really truly believing in myself. I wasn't loving and accepting myself. I had a lot of self-doubt, a lot of self-criticism, a lot of self-judgment, and I knew that it was limiting me and making my life small because I was trying to fit in with other people. So in that respect, a lot changed. I definitely find that I am much more kind and self-loving, and that I'm doing my best to be my own best friend, and to be nice, to talk nicely to myself in the way that I would talk to anybody else. So I'm not being a hypocrite, essentially, talking nice to everyone else and being nasty to myself, which is not a good thing to do. And for anyone who has that experience, then you understand what that's like. And I think as women, we're very conditioned to be all things to everyone and not to focus on ourselves. So the other thing is to live joyfully and positively. So doing what I love, and that's what I'm really setting out to do now. I've started my practice as a soul counselor, working online. I really firmly and powerfully believe in integration of plant medicine. It's not always sunshine and roses and amazing, mystical, beautiful experiences. You can have very dark experiences, and I do feel my experience as a clinical hypnotherapist, I was able to watch people and see their experiences and note that sometimes there is, I'm not saying it's always the way, but definitely a lot of the time, if you're unaware of your unconscious programming, your unconscious fears, that they do arise, and maybe your, ayahuasca experience, Mother Aya, is connecting you with those dark aspects of your subconscious programming to bring them up to your awareness, to release them, to heal them. And so it can be a scary experience, but if you have some kind of presence, some kind of practice, some kind of self-awareness, that will help you through those and bring you out the other side. So that's one aspect of the therapy that I do now, that I can finally say I can really help you with, because I've gone through not just these last experiences, but previously working with Don Howard Lawler in Spirit Quest, I went through another process of Aya, and that was more challenging, but it really taught me the power of and the necessity of integrating. And sometimes it is good to have a coach to guide you and support you through that, because I've had an experience where it was really confusing and took me a long time to work out what it was about and how it helped me. So that's it. Plant medicine integration is one of those things that I will do as a soul counselor, life coaching, changing your negative thinking, your negative thoughts. I'm passionate about near-death experiences. I know people more now than ever, for some reason, are experiencing near-death experiences, and hypnotherapy can help you remember a lot of that experience and benefit from that experience and utilize it for your best life. So those are all aspects that I am starting in my practice. Have I arrived? Not yet. It's just starting. So this is where I say that integration can take a life. It can take continuous progression of what you've learned. So integration is essentially the wisdom that you've gained from the experiences, putting it into practice. Another part of my integration was setting boundaries and being comfortable setting boundaries. And that's something I hadn't done ever before. So you can have an intellectual knowing from plant medicine that you need to do that, but then to actually follow through and carry it out may not be as easy, but life will produce the opportunities for you to do that. So that's what I'm saying. Integration is part and parcel of your life experience, and sometimes that's what you need to allow for, not going back down into another series of ayahuasca ceremonies, but actually continuously integrating your opportunities in life to live the wisdom that you've gained from the previous ayahuasca ceremonies before you go back and you wait for that calling if you need it to go back. You don't push forward with it. So these are all things that I feel passionate about and that I've gained from ayahuasca and also Wachuma. Wachuma has been very powerful, and I can talk about that on another episode. So I would love your feedback. I would love to hear from you. I'm interested in hearing about everybody else's ayahuasca ceremony experience. And even by talking through it with me, maybe on this format, we can work through how it's helped and how it can help others by showing that on this YouTube channel if you're willing to do so. So thank you for listening. Thank you so much for your time. I love my soul tribe and I really appreciate you. Reach out and talk to me.